giving advice. When we give advice about etiquette, good behavior, what is a good thing to do and what is not a good thing to do. We have two words here that we can use. Should versus must. What is the difference? They're quite similar but not 100%. We have the basic difference here. Should means it's a good idea. It's a good thing to do, but not necessary. Don't have to. We should go. It's getting late. That's the first example. We should go. It's getting late. Means it's a good idea to go. And notice again, go is not in the infinitive or in the gerund. It is not should to go or should going, because should is a modal auxiliary verb, which is a little bit different to other verbs. The second verb just stays in the pure form, go. No to, no ing. We should go. It's a good idea to go. The second example, you should watch Gossip Girl. It's fun. Gossip Girl, do you watch that show? Well, if you say you should watch Gossip Girl, it means you think it's a good idea to watch Gossip Girl because you think it's fun. You should watch, not you should to watch. Now, as we already know, must means it's a duty or a rule. It's obligation. 100% you must. Example, you must have a passport to travel. Of course, you cannot travel without a passport. It's a rule to have a passport. The second example, you must be on time for the exam. Again, it's a rule. You cannot be late. And in those situations, we use must for rules. Notice again, must does not have to after it. You must have, you must be, not you must to be. Let's look at some examples of using should to give advice. And we have our red warning box, our grammar tip. It does not have to after it. I hear a lot of times, you should to go, you should to leave, you should to buy. Cannot. The first example, you should visit the floating market. Means it's a good idea to visit the floating market. It's a good idea to visit the floating market. It's nice. It's a good idea. The second example, you should go to the river before it gets dark. That's good advice. It's nicer when you have light. We use should to give this advice. The third example, you should take a day trip because it's quite far. You should means it's a good idea, but it's optional, it's up to you. You should try the famous local dish. It's delicious. You should. Good idea. And finally, they should visit the museum if they like history. Using should to give our advice, what we think is a good idea. And remember, should does not take to. Okay. We can also use should in the negative to give advice on what is a bad idea. Which again, as a guide, that's your duty to inform these people of what is good things to do and what is bad things to do. Okay, our first example, you shouldn't go that way. It is a dangerous area. Well, that's very good advice. We're using should and not, the negative, but contracting it, should not, shouldn't is the contraction. Remember, if you are not comfortable with contractions, don't use them. It's up to you. I will repeat so you can practice. Should not, contraction, shouldn't. Repeat, shouldn't. Okay, but remember, if you don't like the contraction, you don't need to use it. You can use should not. You should not go that way. Okay, the second example, you shouldn't be late because the bus will leave at 4 p.m. Well, yes, that's a very good idea. Don't be late. Shouldn't be late. Should not be late. Third example, you shouldn't eat at that restaurant. It's very expensive, but low quality. That's your advice. It's a bad idea to eat at that restaurant. Not good. They shouldn't be noisy in this area of the temple. Again, that's good advice. As a tour guide, you should give advice like that to help with the etiquette of your clients. You shouldn't be noisy. And the final example, they shouldn't take the bus. The train is quicker. Again, that's your advice. It's a good idea to not take the bus, but they can if they want to. Okay, should and should not. We use for giving advice on what is a good idea, should, and what is a bad idea, should not. So let's look at our final learning quote for today. Making mistakes simply means you are learning faster. So remember, if you are putting to with must and saying you must to go, yes, it's a mistake, but you will learn from those mistakes, and remember not to do that next time. Making a mistake simply means you are learning, so never be afraid to make mistakes. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something.